Hello there, everybody. This is Dan Calloway here, and today I want to show you something that I have set up on my Oracle Virtual Box as a virtual machine. And what that is a Zentyal Development Edition 5.1 server. You can go out and download the Zentyal Server Development Edition from their website, and you can just Google it and you'll be able to find it. Uh, if you download the community edition, it's going to cost you money, but if you download the development edition, it's a fully functional server, but you don't have to pay for it. And what Zentyal server is really designed for is for home use and for small business use. And so it's a great little server. I've got it doing various things on my system. It's running in Windows 10 Professional. And I've got the network set up, the firewall, the antivirus, the DHCP, everything you see ticked over here. DNS, FTP, intrusion detection and intrusion prevention system. I've got logs. I've got the network time protocol server set up. I've got a VPN server set up, domain controller and file sharing, mail. But I don't have the regular mail. I've got SOGO webmail set up right now. And I'll show you some of the functionality of this. So if you go into the dashboard, let me click on that and take you there. You can see that it shows the current time of the server. The host name of the server is Zentyal 5.1. I'm running core version 5.1.1. I've got 2 system updates for security, but I haven't implemented those yet. It shows you what the system load is, and for this system, this is great. It's all under 1.0. This is 5 minutes, 15 minutes, and I believe 30 minutes here. Uptime is 44 minutes. It says I have 0 users, but I have a couple of users in the system. Not sure why that's misreporting. But the network interface that I have the Zentyal server set up on is ETH0. The reason for that is this runs in Oracle VirtualBox. Let me get there and I'll show you. It runs as a virtual machine in what's called Zentyal Linux. Okay, and so if we pull up a terminal here, you can see we have a terminal. I've got an account set up there and everything. And so what I've done is I've used the IP address of 192.1.100, which is what I've got it set up on. And I've used that to access my dashboard from a remote connection. So I'm in Windows 10 Pro, and to get there I'm using https:// the IP address of the server, which is static 192.168.1.100, and at port 8443. Okay, so it's a :8443. I'll show you in a moment how that was determined. Okay, so now this is ETH0 is up, it's internal, and it's okay. Here's the MAC address of that. Here's the IP address that I just told you about, which is static. And this shows the transmitting and receiving traffic over the ETH0 right now, so it is functioning. Here's the mail service that's running. Here's the mail filter, which I have stopped for the proxy. I have no DHCP leases in here right now because I have shut the Zentyal server down for a while to do some maintenance. So all of the leases that were in here have now lost their entries. Okay, that will come back. Any DHCP or dynamic host configuration protocol server lease that Zentyal is responding to, which is in the range of 192.168. 191 to 240 will appear here. I've got my router, my ASUS router, issuing DHCP leases in the range of 192.168.150 to 192.168.1.190. Okay. Here's the module status. Network is running. Firewall is running. I've got antivirus stopped at the moment. The certificate authority, which I do have set up here as well, is available. DHCP is running, DNS is running, FTP is running, IDS, IPS is running. The logs are up and running, mail's running. The network time protocol server is running. VPN is also running, which is OpenVPN. Took me a while to get that configured. Domain controller and file sharing is running as well, and SOGO mail, which is the web-based mail, is running. Here's the OpenVPN daemon. It's enabled and running on all network interfaces on port 1194. And the VPN subnet is 192.168.160.0/ and the network mask is 255.255.255.0. Okay? And then so the interface is 192.168.160.1/32. Okay, let's go back over here. On the system side, I've got general, which says that I have a username of Data Pioneer, a language of English. The administrative interface port is the 8443, which you can see right up here. The host name is Zentyal 5.1. The domain name for this domain is Zentyal-domain.lan. Okay. Date and time currently being managed by the NTP server, which I've enabled and for synchronization, and therefore I cannot change the time. The NTP server pool that I'm using here is 0.pool.ntp.org, 1.pool, and 2.pool. So I've got 3 servers in a pool that are issuing time synchronization to the NTP server on this server itself. Okay. I've got some configuration backups that I've taken here on this server, so I can revert back if I need to. They're called restore points here in Linux as well. Here I can halt or reboot the system if I need to, but I'm not going to at this point because I will lose the IP address or connectivity. Under the network side, I've got the interfaces here, and I'm showing ETH0 static with this IP address and netmask. No virtual interfaces. The gateway is the gateway on the router, which is the GW ETH0 192.168.1.1, showing on the ETH outbound side. For DNS here, I've got Zentyal-domain.lan is the domain. For objects, I believe I do have a fixed IP object, an internal LAN object, and an OpenVPN-ETH0, which is the interface to the gateway of 192.168.1.0 with a CIDR or classless inter-domain routing value of 24, which means it's a Class C address. Services here, I've got plenty of them set up running on this Zentyal server. This is only page 1. If you go to page 2, I've got others like Samba is running, for instance, SSH is running, Secure Shell, Trivial File Transfer Protocol is running, etc., etc. Let's go on down. Logs, I've got those set up, firewall logs, configuration logs, administrator sessions, DHCP, mail, etc., VPN, you name it. Got those set up. For software management, for the Zentyal components, I believe I have pretty much all of them installed here. There are 2 that I don't have, which is the HTTP proxy and Jabber. Not even sure, I'll be honest, I don't know what Jabber is. I do know what HTTP proxy is, though. System updates. These are 2 updates that I'm kind of leery of actually implementing because they impact my actual processor on the main PC and the graphics on the main PC, so I probably will not implement those. And there's a warning anyway saying these are untested. The reason that they're untested is they're community updates. If they were non-community, probably would implement them. For the settings side here, I've got the automatic software updates disabled, and so that they don't get implemented automatically without my knowledge. For users and computers, if you click on Manage here, you can see that I've got the domain set up. I've got computers and groups, and under Users, I've set up the administrator, which is me, Data Pioneer. I've set up another account, D. Calloway, which is Daniel Calloway, that's me. I've set up a domain admins, users. Fred Flintstone, I've set him up as well. I'll use him later. Schema admins, I've got another one called Simon Says. Domain controller is Zentyal 5.1, which is what I'm running right now. And then I've set up a lab organizational unit with a test group, okay, within that OU. And then I've set up a test user inside the OU of test group, okay. It's going down. I've got domain here. You can see the server role here for Zentyal 5.1 is a domain controller. Here's its realm. Here's the net BIOS name of the domain. And here's the net BIOS name of the computer. And then the server description is a Zentyal server. I have not enabled roaming profiles. Okay. For file sharing, I've got a share name called common with a path to common. Okay, sharing files in Zentyal with Windows 10 with no guest access. For mail, I have under general, there's the Zentyal-domain.lan port 25 for send mail. The server mail name is the fully qualified domain host name, or fully qualified domain name host name. The postmaster address is the local root account, and the rest of it I really haven't gotten this activated, and so it's not really that important at this point. For DNS, which is the domain naming service, or system rather, I've got enabled the transparent DNS cache on the server. And then I have a forward of 8.8.8.8, which is an IP address for google.com, so that if DNS locally on my server is not serving up domain name resolutions to IP addresses, it will forward those requests on to Google at 8.8.8.8 for that to happen. Okay, but when it does happen here locally, it's at Zentyal-domain.lan. All right. For DHCP, or Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, this is the server that issues IP addresses automatically. If you've got it set up that way, it is enabled. The interface is ETH0, and I've got it configured. And if I click configuration, let me see what it says. Yeah, I've got 192.168.1.1. Here's the domain. There's the primary name server. No Win server, okay. And there's the range that I'm using. And I've got another lab range of 1.50 to 1.90 set up there as well, okay. On the firewall side, I've got a complete firewall set up for packet filtering here on the Zentyal. For filter rules from the internal networks to the Zentyal, I click the configure rules, and here are all the rules that I have set up. One of those rules that I had to set up for the VPN server was a Zentyal.vpn rule, which allowed VPN on the protocol UDP, which is the user datagram protocol. Okay, there are 2 pages to these rules, so there's a lot of rules, and I can add to them. Okay, so for instance, here for SSH service, I've got a decision of accept from any IP address, the SSH service, but I don't have any description in there because it's self-explanatory. So that's the packet filtering for internal networks to Zentyal. Now I also have filtering rules for external networks to the Zentyal, and that would be acquired by clicking the configure rules, and I've only got 1 page of those, and here they are. Okay, so for HTTP, for allow traffic from Zentyal to the internet over this protocol, the hypertext transfer protocol. Zentyal.vpn to allow UDP VPN, etc., etc. Okay, pretty self-explanatory stuff. Now, if I go on down here, I've got a port forwarding rule set up as well that I had to set up to make OpenVPN work. Okay, and so the interface is ETH0. The originator is the Zentyal protocol is TCP UDP. Transfer control protocol, transmission control protocol rather, user datagram protocol, original destination port any on source 192.168.1.0/24 at the IP address of the server on the same port, and replace source address, and here's the description for it. Okay, so that was a requirement. That had to punch a hole in the network to make OpenVPN allow a handshake actually on the SSL TLS side of the networking at layer 4, I believe, for transport layer security. That's the 4th layer of the OSI model. Okay, so here's my certificate authority. If you click on General, you can see what I've got set up. These are the current certificate lists that I have. One of those is the VPN because I'm using OpenVPN, and that's how it's making its connection. It's not using a password, user account, or anything. It's actually using a credential that it goes out and validates. Now, because I am a certificate authority here, I can issue my own certificate authorities and validate them. Okay. And I can do that here for Windows 10. I can do it for the web browser, Firefox, so that I don't get the HTTPS warning necessarily. Here's the VPN interface. Here's the servers. Zentyal.vpn is the servers. Here's the download link that I used to download the client bundle when I was done. And then intrusion detection prevention system. It's enabled on the interface of ETH0. FTP side, it's currently disabled for anonymous login. I am also allowing SSL support, which means it really is a SFTP rather than just FTP server. And then I've got mail filtering taking place as well. I've got SMTP mail filtering, etc., etc. But I just don't have it implemented right now. Okay, so let me go back up and let me get to the dashboard. And to conclude the video, I'm just going to show you something about the file sharing. All right, so I told you that I had a file share at a share called Common. I'm going to go back out to the Zentyal interface in VirtualBox. All right, and here's the terminal that's up right now. And I want to navigate to or change the directory to where the share is. So I'm going to do a CD home Samba CD home Samba shares and common. Okay, and permissions denied. I forgot to log in as root. Right, so I'm going to CD to home. I have to retype it because I can't use the up arrow. Shares common. Okay, and I'm going to do a listing out there, and you see there's nothing there right now. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to swing out to Windows 10 because I'm sharing files with Windows 10. I'm going to go into File Explorer, and what I've done is I've set up a network share here, or network mapping rather, of 192.168.1.100/common, which is the share name that I'm sharing on the system on the server, and I've set that to drive H. So I'm actually on drive H right now. What I want to do is I want to right click here and I want to create a file, create a text file. It's going to be an empty file. I'm going to call it testfile1.txt. Okay, so I've created it here on the Windows side. Now I'm going to go back out to the Zentyal server, and I'm going to show you that if I rerun the listing of this, you see that the testfile1.txt file is showing up now. So I just shared a file that I created in Windows 10 with the share here that I've set up at Home Samba Shares Common on the Zentyal server. All right. And if I create a file here, so I'm going to do a touch of testfile2.txt. Okay. And let's run a listing again here to show you that. We'll do a long format, show you that I have two files set up now. Testfile1 and testfile2. Let me, if I can expand this over. Okay. Testfile1, let me just do an ls. So you've got two files, testfile1 and testfile2. Let's go back out to Windows 10. And you can see from the Windows 10 interface, let me go, I'll get the wrong place. Go back out here. Now you notice that testfile2 has shown up here in Windows 10. So without creating it here, it just showed up here, which means I'm able to share in both directions. I'm able to create a file on the Zentyal server and share it with Windows 10, and likewise I'm able to create a file on the Windows 10 side and share it with the Zentyal server. So that's the file sharing module that's set up on the server, and it's a very good thing to have because you can share files back and forth. I could take a file, create it on the Zentyal server, share it here on Windows 10, email it from Windows 10 interface, and vice versa. So it's a very good thing to have. All right, so this has been a quick look at Zentyal 5.1 server for Linux rather. It's a Zentyal 5.1 Linux, which you can have as an interface. This is the development edition. You can actually set up a small business and run it, a domain with various nodes, in your small business being monitored and managed right from within the dashboard here, from within the users and computers. And not only that, you can also, if you get the full-blown edition, not the development edition, you can actually integrate that with the Active Directory domain services intercorporate network with domains and forests, and you can incorporate the Zentyal directly into that, which means that they could then touch Active Directory domain services from their Linux boxes, okay, connected to your Zentyal server. So this has been a quick review and look at Zentyal server. And so please subscribe to my website, Linux, Unix channel, and on YouTube. Have a nice day.